What is density? And why is it necessary to eliminate it or reduce it? And then the other question is how? This workshop will deal with those questions, but to introduce it, let me explain. The life that lies beyond resurrection, which is a very major step to accomplish, requires preparation now, within the stages of resurrection and a little before, which is where our light family is. Because the life beyond, which I have called the life of the immaculate white light, I have described it as being like tachyon resources, and that it is like liquid diamonds, and all things change to that when you create for yourself that reality. This is area in which life has not yet evolved into, that is becoming activated as we make these preparations. The density issue is very pertinent to preparing for that life, because that life is boundless. Density, as I will define it for you, only occurs in a life that has boundaries. So we have already discussed that the building blocks of life, whatever they may be, depends on what reality you're in. But the building blocks of life in Godhood, for the average man in ego identification, even the very advanced building blocks of resurrection, which overcome the dual construction that most building blocks have in lower realities. These are moving. They move how? They move by bouncing between the boundaries of your reality. When you are in a boundaryless or boundless life, they are not bouncing off anything. And so whatever movement there is, it just keeps moving into eternity. And that is not really something that brain can fathom at all. It's not still, but it isn't linearly moving between 2 points. So the brain is not accustomed to that. But in that way, there is very little density. Density can be defined 2 different ways. It can be defined as a traffic jam of the building blocks of life. Because the more they are bound to each other, let's look at ego identification, for instance. The polarity in ego identification, which is where we started out with our Belvaspata. Belvaspata evolves with us, but it says that opposite light and frequency attract. The building blocks of that life is made of light and frequency. They are connected to each other in a little wobbly cross, a little cross that the vertical axis is light and the horizontal one is frequency. Those have a positive and a negative pole from one point of that little line to the next. Now, there are other little building blocks with the same thing, and their negative side of their wobbly cross is attracted to the other positive side. And all these building blocks bind to each other and form ropes. And these ropes are what I call a traffic jam. And they consist, well, let us rather say they are caused by belief systems and value judgments. Value judgments is what creates polarity. Belief systems make something right or wrong, good or bad. So belief systems make value judgments, and value judgments polarize the building blocks of life, which then stick together and form strings. And if you recall, in duality consciousness, we were on a disk of life. The cosmic life was like a disk moving round and round. Well, it had to move through these strings. Our awareness had to move through these strings of subquantum particles. That was an opposition, and so life became stronger. There's no accident to any of this. Life becomes stronger because it's like the little chicken that has to fight its way out of the egg to gain the strength to be able to stand once the egg breaks. Or the struggle of the butterfly to emerge from the cocoon with sticky substance to its wings. The struggle through this density of life in ego identification builds the strength to go beyond. When you leave resurrection, you already are poking your head out of that incubation chamber, out of the egg. When you emerge beyond into the incorruptible white light, boundless, limitless existence, that's when the eggshell has gone. The density is no more, which made your incubation chamber, and in fact for a while, your prison. So now you understand a little bit more of what density was and why it isn't there when you move beyond. Now let's look at resurrection. Resurrection has a different shape to its awareness particle. It is a single sphere, and within the sphere, the frequency and the light are combined in a tonal luminosity. They become integrated into one substance, even though they have their distinctive qualities. The qualities are in cooperation. Density there is simply the belief systems that might still be held onto. A belief system of aging and death, even though you are a resurrected being, will create the building blocks in your environment to make it so. Whatever you believe, so it is. So the density here is more a question of old programs held in the frequency component and interpreted by the electrical component within the building blocks of life. What density does, its effect, is that it delays cause and effect. The world of high magic that you are aspiring to, in actual fact, closes the gap between cause and effect. And it's only belief systems that would still delay it. For instance, if you get a cut, hold it together and know it can heal immediately, and so it will. Assume that it will take days or weeks to repair itself, so it will. So the density in resurrection is self-made. And the density in ego identification is collectively made by man. So in resurrection, you may rise above the masses, living a life of graceful unfolding, and eventually evolve a very large evolutionary step beyond, which is the boundless life, where the high magic manifests intent very speedily. Beloved ones, this is a worthy topic and very timely for us to study. Let us eliminate as much as we can and prepare for graceful, effortless unfolding.